Hello, everybody. Ella J here on behalf of WrestleZone, and today I am joined by the queen of the deathmatch, Kasey Catal. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to be catching up with you. It's been a hot minute. It's been about 4 years since we last spoke. Obviously, a lot has remained the same as you are still rightfully the queen of the death match, but obviously, some has changed. You've gone through some, as they say, bumps in the road, as they say. Obviously, last year you had to temporarily vacate your proverbial throne when you underwent nose surgery. I believe you've broken your nose before because it's kind of inherent in death matches, but this seemed obviously a lot more serious. So, how and when did you sustain this particular injury?
Yeah, so I have. I've probably broken my nose now at least like documented 6 times at least.
Yeah.
So it's been my Achilles heel. But yeah, so this injury happened in April, actually WrestleMania weekend of last year in 2023. And a week before my birthday and 2 days before I was going to Dallas. So I was like, no, but yeah, from the first time I had broken it, which was like 7 years ago. It was a really, really bad break to the point of like I almost lost my nose completely. So the only thing they could do
God.
at the moment was to fuse my bones back together, hope that it kind of healed straight and I could breathe, and then we'd move on. So after that happened, a lot happened for me. It was very early on in my career, so I was just like go, 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 and I was getting a lot of opportunities, so I never took a break. So it was never quite fixed from the first time, and then going through all these matches and breaking it a bunch more times. In April, um, I had a direct hit straight to the face, so it just completely shattered everything. My sinuses, every part of my nose was completely demolished and destroyed. And what made it difficult with this injury was I was just having so much trouble breathing. Was getting really bad congestion, sinus headaches. Like I just was not myself, and I could not perform the way I wanted to. So we had to go get it fixed, and it was annoying, but we had to do it. So
You continued to wrestle for another 3 months after the breakage. How did you combat that? Did you like did it feel weird wrestling knowing I don't know if you knew at the time if it was broken or not during that time, but how did that feel to wrestle with that for that 3 months? Obviously, you got surgery in August, but you wrestled for 3 months after that.
yeah, so I got ended up getting surgery at the end of October. I was
Oh
actually
yeah, yeah,
supposed to
yeah.
have it was supposed to have it earlier, actually in August. And insurance, everything else, fell through. Um, but yeah, I was just trying to get through everything the best I could because I felt like it was a really pivotal time in my career. I didn't want to slow down. I felt like I was finally becoming who I wanted to be and feeling confident, and then it happened, and that really sucks. So I did it for as long as I could after that, but then I just realized like I can't. I have to bite the bullet and do it, because it was too hard to get through a match.
Yeah, and especially something like that, it's a nose surgery. I don't how so was it particularly like broken? Did the fusion break again or how what kind of surgery was it? Because I feel like no after so
Yeah.
many breakages, I feel like it's probably really complicated. What exactly did they do?
Gosh, yeah. So after the first one, because I had broken it so many times after,
Yeah.
God knows what damage I did. I never really went to a doctor or anything like that. Every time I broke it, I was just like, whatever, At this point, I know what to do, and eventually I'll get it fixed. So just ignore it. And it didn't look too crazy. My nose was collapsing in the front, but I was like, whatever. I look the same. It's fine.
Yeah.
We're gonna deal with it. After a while, you just don't care. Um, but yeah, so this surgery was just complete nose reconstruction. The first doctor that I went to was just an ENT. He said, insurance will cover it, we'll get it fixed. But doctors, it takes a month to get an appointment, then another 2 months follow up. It was just by the time I actually got a surgery date, it was in the summer, like near August, and it was just like hell. I could not. I it was just so much. It was just so much tests and doctors, and then finally, the day before my surgery, they called me and said that the insurance dropped me because it was too far away from the injury. So I was like, oh my God, panicked because I was on a timeline.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I want to come back this time. I want to come back in March. I want to be ready for Mania. I want to be feeling my best. And I was like, no, I crunch time. So I searched and searched and searched. A lot of doctors would not take my case because they thought it was too complicated, liabilities and everything like that. Finally found a doctor. We did complete nose reconstruction. He's one of the best in the country. I love my doctor. Yeah, so they basically went in and fixed everything. I mean, sinuses, bridge, side. My nose was collapsing in the front. My valves on the side were also collapsed in. That's why I couldn't breathe. So they had to go in, bump those out. It was just a whole thing. And then while I was at it, he was a plastic surgeon. So I'm like, you know what? We're going to do it. We're going to make it look cute because at this point, screw it. So it was just kind of everything. It was a taxing recovery. I was not expecting that because I have a crazy pain tolerance, but it was tough. And it's still tough because I keep still bonking it. So, we're doing our best over here.
Yeah, so obviously it's taxing physically and mentally. We'll talk about the physically part now. I mean, luckily it wasn't like an extremity or something like that, but
Mhm.
after dealing with obviously it was very severe considering you had to go through so many different doctors just for opinions and a complicated surgery. So talk about that taxing process of recovering physically in the months following your surgery.
Yeah, it was an adjustment. When you first get your nose done, you don't realize like you're changing your entire face too. So, you're looking at yourself and your nose is so swollen and your face is so swollen and you're just like, "Oh, did I do the right thing?" And now I have to take all this time off and, you know, just heal. And it was scary. Like I was scared to even sleep on my side a certain way, let alone wrestle. So I'm like, "How am I going to do this when I come back? Like, how am I going to feel comfortable enough to be in a ring and to feel protected and to feel like I could protect myself?" So yeah, it was just ice, 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 ice. Let's just get it healed as much as we possibly can. My doctor said 4 weeks. I said, I'm doing 8 weeks. I was really taking things really slow. And yeah, it was a slow process, but we're getting there.
Yeah, I know the time being away from the ring, obviously physically is one thing, but I know mentally as well. You were talking about on Twitter that that's a huge aspect, and you know that you went back to therapy actually, which is so great on you. And obviously, as the days went on, they became brighter and brighter for you. So, how did you
Yeah.
center yourself back mentally and eliminate those mental blocks along the way?
Yeah, it's really tough. It's really tough to feel like things are starting to work out and things are starting to happen after putting so much work into something you love and just really diving. I dove head first. I was all in, all committed, and to feel like I had that kind of snatched away from me, it was really tough. I think the emotional part, it's always, I'm tough as nails. I will say it. I don't care, if people are going to be like, what, I'm tough as nails physically. Mentally, I'm a mush. I'm a mush. It's really, really hard for me to kind of go through those emotional processes and to figure out like, am I still going to do this? Am I going to be as good as I was? Now I look so different. Are people going to judge me because, they think, oh, she just went and got a nose job and now she's back? Like there was so much to it that people didn't really understand. And also, as you get older, you realize like these are my boundaries. So I never really wanted to go and explain everything to anybody. I was like, this is, my journey, my stuff. I'm going to heal. And if I want to share, I'll share, and if I want to, I was so afraid of like, oh, the pictures are going to come out and this is going to come out. And, now I have to start from square one. And what if I don't look the same? And what if I don't, wrestle the same? And what if that spark is gone? What if it was just kind of like a one shot thing and I just got lucky, and all those things go around your head. And it was really important for me to kind of take a step back from that and be like, okay, what's important to you.
Yeah.
You're what matters. You have to, cloud out all the things around you. And I couldn't do that by myself, and I knew and reaching out and getting help is so important. Because even when you think you got it together and it's like, all right, you know what? Screw it. I got it. I got it. Like it's really, really nice to just sit down and kind of decompress and figure out why you're feeling the way you are and then how to just evolve from it. It's really powerful. So
Yeah, and again, during recovery, especially, you're probably limited in what you can do and stuff like that. So, did you in a light spot and on a lighter note, did you discover any new passions or hobbies during that time away from the ring? Obviously, outside of training, how did you allocate your time?
Good question. I didn't do much. A lot of the things that I do enjoy, hobbies wise, are physical.
Smart.
I am a reader and I couldn't read either because my eyes were, so swollen and I was trying to,
Yeah.
I couldn't wear my glasses, so I was like
Audiobooks,
trying.
Casey,
I
audiobooks.
know, I know, I know. But I love reading. Like I love just getting lost in a book. That's one of my favorite things. So I didn't really pick up anything new. I definitely dove headfirst into music. I started listening to a lot more music and I was kind of tapping into more of my like creative art side. And I really think that has helped me to where I am right now as I'm slowly kind of on this journey. But yeah, just like listening to music and embracing the words and realizing, like, all right, I'm not alone. This is going to be great. And yeah, just being more creative and just tapping into that part of myself that I feel like I lost for a little bit.
What new artists or bands or songs did you discover during this time?
Oh, this is gonna be a hot take. So I always loved Taylor Swift. I was
Mm,
never like a super fan though. I was just like a casual, oh, if it's on, I'll listen to it.
yeah.
And then I'm a big Chiefs fan. So when Taylor started dating Travis, I actually was like the reverse. I was like, I became more of a Swiftie because of Travis. So Torture Poets Department came out. At midnight, I had my AirPods in, I was ready to go. And it honestly, like that album is really transformative. And people can talk all the shit that they want about Taylor Swift, but like the connection that I just feel and that she sings what we feel and it's so empowering and so beautiful. And yeah, my husband Brandon actually bought me the record and he
That's
bought me a
awesome.
record player. So now I'm like super into records. Oh, the music sounds so much better on a record player. And so yeah, I was definitely listening to a lot of Taylor.
I'd be afraid of breaking the record, honestly. Like, I feel like
I
if you
am.
drop, I don't know how fragile. I've never owned a record. I don't know if they're, like, really
Yeah.
fragile, like, if you drop it on, like, a hardwood floor, like, if it's gonna shatter. I'd be afraid, honestly, so but I trust you're
Yeah.
taking good care of it, though.
Yes, and they've been used in death matches. Like Brendan has hit people in the head with them and they snap. So they do break.
It all comes full circle,
Yes,
Casey.
yes, yes,
Just
yes.
keep though make sure those ones he knows are off limit, though.
Oh, he will never. He knows so much better than that.
Obviously now at this point, it's been what, 7 months since your surgery now at this point?
Yeah.
How is your nose feeling right now? What is its current state like?
Yeah. So I had a few matches back and
Yes, you did.
I um broke it twice. Well, so
Casey!
I not confirmed. So at GCW, I at the clusterfuck, I kissed Sawyer Rack and I got a little too excited, bashed my face into hers. Wasn't bad. I don't think it broke, but it did bleed. It was like swelling. So I was like,
Yeah,
okay, great. And then recently at JCW a few weeks ago, I took a German from Joey Janela
Joe
and kneed
Janela, yeah.
myself in the face. And then so panicked, and I had actually my 6 month appointment with my doctor the next day. So I called him to, let him know this is not so good, but luckily it was all the way at the top. So nothing was ruined. It was just very swollen, got the black eyes and everything. And then I was like, you know what? It looks great. So we're good. We're moving on. But I am wearing a mask now. Sorry, everyone. I am wearing a mask because I'm cursed. But it feels okay. It feels good. It's healed really well. My breathing is next level. No headaches, no brain fog. Like it's crazy how clear I feel. So I will take it. I'm happy and we're on the right track.
Now can you read, like, properly without distraction again? You've comfortably reading again?
Yes, yes, I have been. I have to put the glasses like after I just
Yeah,
bonked
of
it. I have
course.
to like take a little time off and everything because I'm just scared to put anything on my nose. But yeah, everything for the most part. I think my eyesight changed a little bit, and maybe that's why my depth perception is off with people, and I keep bonking
Mm.
it. So I'll get that fixed eventually too. But for the most part, it's been the best thing I ever did.
Now, besides obviously the protective face mask, have you had
Mhm.
to how have you had to adjust your approach to your matches in general, specifically death matches, like doing certain moves or weapons to make sure you don't re-aggravate the injury again?
Yeah, so at first and I was like, everyone, if you could just avoid, anything straight on. Sides I can kind of manage. Anything kind of head on, we're gonna avoid there. So, yeah, it worked for like the first few matches, and now it's a little bit different. So, but my approach is still the same. I don't want to go in there with fear. I want to go in there with confidence. I want to trust in myself that I can protect myself, and know that the other person, is there and take good care of me. And every person I've been in the ring with since then has taken such great care of me. So I'm just very lucky.
Yeah, and obviously you mentioned earlier your hope was to make it back in time by March. You did
Hmm.
that. You officially
Hmm.
returned in the ring at GCW's So Much Fun event, which I think is rightful because I mean GCW in and of itself is very fun and obviously but very
Yeah.
very death oriented as well, but that makes it fun, in wrestling.
Yeah.
So tell us about that experience of being back in the ring and how do you think your overall performance went that night?
Good question. It was so much fun. I knew when I was coming back, I wanted it to be a death match, and I wanted to be with John Wayne
Yeah.
Murdoch, because John, it's full circle. John has been a friend, a mentor, just a legend, one of the best people in the entire world, in every right, and he has taught me so much, and I wanted that big moment to be with him. And yeah, and I wanted to be a death match, something I'm comfortable with, my bread and butter. I know it sounds crazy, but like those are the matches I thrive in, and I feel my most self. So I knew it had to be there. I knew it had to be with him. And it was actually 2 years to the 2 years in one day from our first match ever. So it was really cool to be able to kind of tell that story. Um, and yeah, how do I think I did? I'm my biggest critic ever. Everyone is.
I can relate, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, there's so many things I wish I could have done different, and so many things I wish I could. You always go back and you just nitpick everything. But for what it was so special. The crowd made me feel so comfortable and so confident. And, it was a really good return. So I'm really happy with it.
Before you were mentioning, tapping into the creative side, obviously you have that background in Broadway dance and also music as well and all of that. As somebody who's done like God knows how many death matches, I feel like there's only so many like spots you can do, How do you keep yourself where do you look to for creativity and keeping things innovative for your death matches, so it's not just the same routine and spots and weapons and everything. How do you keep things
Great.
fresh, I guess? Yeah.
Yeah, great question. And I think this is something that was ingrained to me since I started was story.
Yeah.
Tell an amazing story. For me, everything comes back to story. I'm not great with, picking moves and where they go and, putting together a match in that sort of aspect. But for me, storytelling is what I feel that I connect with and that I'm good at. And I've really, coming back now, I really wanted to focus on being more authentic, doing things my way, being me. Like, what can I show everybody? Like, what's going to make it important that I'm going to connect with all of these people? Like, that's so important to me. And that's been the most fun thing in wrestling for me, because of the background that I have, is like, I really want to tell these impactful, amazing stories where people are just so captivated. So that's what I focus on with even death matches. And I think it's such a beautiful blend of violence and storytelling that you can tell, and to realize you don't have to use every weapon out there.
Yeah.
You don't have to do all the craziest spots. Like, really hone in on that story. And I've always kind of played that underdog. And I feel like that's really authentically me is, I'm put into these situations and I'm going to rise up. I'm going to rise up every time. And so those are always the types of things I try to tap into in death matches. Because when people are invested, that's, what the most important part is. And then everything else around it just makes it more special. So.
Yeah, and keeping things special, also the connection with your fans as well. We're almost 3 months out now since your return at the time of recording this. Before you mentioned being a little bit nervous of how the fans would perceive you physically, and all that. So how has the reaction? I've seen some things, I've seen nothing but positive things on Twitter anyways, which is a rarity because it's Twitter. But on your feed, I've seen a lot of positive reaction from fans since your return. So how has it been for you, the reaction, the reception from the fans that you've gotten so far?
Yeah, I mean, thinking about it almost it makes you emotional. Like that's why I do it, and I know that's why a lot of people do it, but I'll speak for myself. It's why I do it. It's been really special to come back and to see all these faces again, and people are still coming. All the people. I was like, oh, I hope they come back and see me, and they're still there. They're still coming. They're still cheering me on. A lot of new faces, which I love, which is so exciting for me. Yeah, it makes it worth it. It makes, all the pain, all the suffering and the physical, it makes it all worth it, just to see everybody there. And I really respect and thank everybody who comes and pays a ticket to come and watch me. And I take it very, very seriously. And I think that's also why I'm so hard on myself, is because I want to give them, that moment that they can remember. So yeah, it's been great to see everybody.
Yeah, well, you've also undoubtedly given everything you have to this sport. I mean, physically and mentally as well. And now, in a couple days, actually, at the time of recording this, you talk about you've given everything that you have for professional wrestling. It'll be your 7-year wrestling anniversary. How do you think that you've grown as a person and as a competitor in your career thus far?
Oh my gosh. I mean, just on the person alone, looking back at that little girl, I have no idea. She had no idea what she was doing, what she was getting into. I think that's been one of the coolest parts of all this, is to see my growth. I see things very differently now, and I just really am thankful to be at the spot at where I am and to have been around the people and the journey. Like, even though a lot of the journey sucked, like, it's really cool to be like I'm here and I'm still doing it and I never quit. And it's really, really cool. Old me would have quit when things got tough, and I have persevered, and I'm really proud of that, and I'm really proud of myself. And for the first time, I feel like I could say that out loud and be like, I'm proud of myself, and I don't have to feel guilty about that, and not care about what people think, because I earned that right to say, I've put in the work, and I'm just really proud of what I've done. So, yeah, and professionally, my God, wow. The funny thing with wrestling, people don't realize how much actually goes into wrestling. Between the physical, the lifting, the strength, the acting, the character, the clothes, for women, the hair, the makeup, the style, the music. There's so much that you are constantly thinking about. And to now be at a point where like those types of things, like I'm not going to be amazing at every single one of those things. It's even hard to just be physically amazing and to be an athlete. And I've accepted that, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do my best to be great at all of these things, but I can't be hard on myself. And I was so hard on myself for being like, why can't I do that she does that? Why can't I do that? Why? And now I'm just like, that's not me. And it's okay that it's not me. So I think that acceptance too, of being like, I'm still great. I'm just different. And I think that's really special, and I've embraced it.
Yeah, it's kind of that it's wrestling is so weird because it's again it's performance art, but it's also combat sport. It's a blend of both, sports and
Yeah.
entertainment. You
And then
obviously
you add glass. Like,
Yeah, yeah, and you obviously
yeah.
have that background in the performance aspect, like we said, Broadway dance and acting. Last time we talked about how you used to have aspirations to be an actress, and you did some extra work and some reenactments for some true crime stuff. But beyond that, were you involved in any other acting or entertainment projects from that realm?
My resume is weird.
Okay.
I've done a lot of really random things, a lot of theater productions. I dance off Broadway. I did some like weird spots with MTV. Like I've done some like really random weird things that were just like one and done gigs. And I loved it so much, and I miss it. And I hope that, one day I could maybe do something else if they like scars and have good makeup artists. So That's where my heart is, and that's why I love going out and performing and
Yeah.
being able to be in front of that crowd and just like the uncertainty of it all. I don't know, it's just really exciting for me. And that rush is really exciting for me to be in front of a live crowd doing what I love. So yeah, one day hopefully I'll tune back into something.
Now, selfishly, I have to ask if you recall your MTV gigs because that was a huge thing growing up for everybody. What were you involved in with MTV?
Yeah, so I did like a few things. It was called MTV Sleepover. So this was actually more on the recent side. So this is not like the fun like 90s MTV.
Okay.
My family won tickets to go see TRL. It was the last taping and they ended up canceling it.
Oh my
So I was
God.
like, I'm still mad because I could have been like, yeah, I went to TRL. I saw Carson, I did the whole thing, but God, this must have been like I'm old now, 15 years ago, probably more. And Lene Dunn used to like host a bunch of stuff for them. And she did like a MTV sleepover where we watched What a Girl Wants with the Amanda Bynes movie. And then instead of commercials in between, we were the commercial doing like a sleepover, like we were watching the movies and stuff. So I
Mm.
did a few of those and we were like eating gross European like British food and I just remember just being mortifying and like oh great and they put me in the ugliest robe but it was Betsy Johnson so I was like fine it's okay um but yeah it was some like weird stuff like that and it was like all improv stuff so they just like put us out there and we're like have a sleepover like react to this video it's just
Mm.
so I'm very comfortable with just doing it just send it.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier it seemed like acting was your big dream growing up. I would have to assume that. Um, when did when did your pivot focus then from acting to wrestling? Because that's a big pivot to make for you.
Yeah, especially not being a fan and not watching it, but I
Yeah.
went to an indie show. I went to an indie show and I just fell in love. I fell in love with it. It was a hardcore show. It's NYWC Psycho Circus, so that was like their big, blow off show every year. And I was just like, oh, this is so cool. This is real. This is wrestling. And then yeah, like ended up dating someone who was not thrilled that I wanted to get into wrestling. And then a few years later, when we broke up, the next day I signed up for wrestling training.
Rest
And yeah, and the rest is history. I remember taking
history.
my first bump and just being like, this is sick. This is so cool. Like, I love this. I'm a very like physical, like I like
Yes.
doing physical things. So I felt like it was like a mesh of everything I loved acting, performing, and then being able to do all these cool physical tricks that I wanted to learn. And so it was just love at first sight.
Two more questions for you. As we're
Yeah.
looking now towards the future, you're slowly getting yourself back in the game. What are some
Mhm.
of your personal and professional goals for the next year or two?
Yeah. I really should work on short-term goals. I get very weird. I put so much pressure on myself. So I feel like I really want to stay in the moment. I want to take things as they come. A lot of people are like, why aren't you loading up your schedule? Well, thank you for thinking that everyone wants to book me. But it's a mix of two things, like I don't want to go crazy. I want to take things slowly and I want to do things great. And if I can't give my all and be amazing and be with the best person on the other side of that ring with me that I feel like is on the same page, I'm not going to do it. And I think that's really empowering. And I think a lot of people, you know, just stick up for yourself and be like, hey, not for me, not super comfortable. I think I want to do this. You don't have to take every single thing that is offered to you. I know everyone is going to tell you to do that for experience and for just be smart. You have, follow your instinct, that just take care of yourself because at the end of the day it's your career, you're the one doing this. So just a little sidebar there, but yeah, definitely just enjoy it, have fun, not be so stressed about the shows and about how I'm going to look and how people will perceive me. Just go out and do it and have fun. Like this is what I want to do, so I'm really lucky I get to do it.
Well, I know Brandon has a short-term goal for you that a lot of us also want you, and that is to face a staple of GCW, Nick Gage.
Oh my
It's
God.
crazy. I had to like double check. I like you would have thought that you two would have like crossed paths already. It has not
Yeah,
happened yet, which is crazy. So
I
what are your
know.
thoughts on a Kasey Catal, Nick Gage agenda? Is
Oh
that a
my
face off you'd like to
gosh.
explore as well?
Everybody wants me dead. Jeez.
You're the
Yeah.
queen, though.
Uh, not self-proclaimed at all.
I know.
I yeah, I'm always just like, guys, there's no. I'm like the butler. Um, I love Nick, obviously. There's nothing you can say about him that's already, that's not already been said. He's the god. He's the god. It terrifies me. I definitely would like to one day when they weren't announcing the matches for the last GCW show at Ridgefield Park, I was like, I'm gonna end up wrestling Nick Gage at Ridgefield Park on a Sunday afternoon. I was like, I cannot do this. I cannot do it. But I would love to. I would really have to mentally prepare myself. So if that would happen, I would need like a 6 months in advance to like really be
Have it.
ready for it. But
Mhm.
never say never.
Well, Matt Cardona is now the GCW general manager, and he's been making some
Mm,
crazy, unpredictable calls. So maybe this is one of them. Maybe Brandon needs to give him a little nudge. I'm just saying.
no, don't do it to me, Matt. He don't like me, so don't do it to me. We're not playing that. But yeah,
Uh,
honestly, I would not be shocked. So whatever. You know what? Bring it. We'll do it.
okay. Well, Casey, before we let you go, can you please share where the listeners can find you online and support you?
Oh gosh, just search my name, Kasey Catal. I'm Catal everywhere. I think I'm Catal Casey underscore on most things. So if you just pop it in there. Don't use Facebook. Rarely use Facebook. So yeah, and if you want to book me, you can email me.
Well, Casey, thank you so much for joining me here today. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to catch up with you. And obviously, continue going at your own pace. We will support you through all of this. It's amazing to see the comeback that you've made so far.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.